Built in 1899, the old post office pavilion, the rather modest name of the castle-looking thing behind me, has this amazing clock tower that can give you a panoramic view of Washington, D.C., a view not to be missed. Furthermore, this tower houses something called the Congress bells, which are, wait for it, bells. Yep, you got it, like who's buried in Grant's tomb. Anyway, these are a gift from England, and they're supposed to represent or commemorate the deep friendship between the UK and the US. But how deep does that friendship go? You know, how close are these former colonies and their former master? And why do some people believe that the United Kingdom runs the United States? And now we're in a different place. I know, it doesn't make sense. We're just going to go with it because this week we're looking at a question that you've asked us several times over the years. Does the United Kingdom actually own the United States? We're doing an audio episode on this. We've got this video update here, and we called in our buddies at Alltime Conspiracies to help us out. So check out their video on the subject as soon as you're done with this one, and then check out our audio show for an in-depth look at this question. This is just going to be a primer. People who believe that the US is somehow still owned by the United Kingdom think that this traces back to the Treaty of Paris, which is in 1783. And you can read some extensive analysis, interpretation maybe is a better word, of this treaty by people who believe that this is the actual historical fact. And there's a strange thing that goes on here too, because we know that history is written by the victors, right? And we know as an event occurs further and further back in history, it becomes more and more black and white, good guys versus bad. Those nuances of real life are lost, often on purpose. So is it possible that there are historical myths in the story of humanity? Absolutely. It's not possible. It's probable. It's happening. The question is this one? To answer this question, we have to think about what the United Kingdom means in this context. You know, does it mean the Queen herself? Does it mean there's a Commonwealth relationship similar to Canada and Australia, or their relationship with the UK? Does it mean there's a financial control? You've probably heard that quotation often attributed to a Rothschild, which was, give me control of the country's money supply and I don't really care who says they run it. I'm paraphrasing, but the point of that was that economic control is often the root of all the other things that a population can mistake as a means of power or control. So you can check out our videos about who owns the Federal Reserve. This is a very strange quasi-governmental entity here in the US as our central bank. We've got audio on it, we've got videos as well. For people who would believe that the quote-unquote UK would control the US in this sense, then they would probably be talking about the city of London, which is in London, but not part of London. It is home to some of the most powerful financial interests in the world. And they've got a lot of weird tradition there too. Historically, they're run by these organizations that call themselves guilds for jobs no one does anymore. And there are so many weird, confusing traditions. The City of London is run by its own Lord Mayor, who is elected annually. If the Queen wants to enter the city, she has to go to this place called the Temple Bar. She has to ask permission, and then she always has to walk a couple of steps behind the Lord Mayor. At least that's the story. I've never been there. They don't invite me when they're doing those sorts of things. So I mentioned the City of London because the shares in the Federal Reserve at the US are given to or owned by various banks, not necessarily individuals, but banking institutions in their certain district. There are theories that the actual controlling forces behind the Federal Reserve in the US are other foreign entities in the city of London, or you'll also hear people say, no, it's in the Middle East somewhere. Two authors who ascribe to these beliefs are Eustace Mullins and Gary Kah. And you can check out their work for more information on this. The gist of the idea is similar to the concept of fingers and hands. The idea that if you just see fingers by themselves, right, and these are banks, then they are each independent, if adjacent, entities, right, capable of working together, but not the same thing. However, what they're arguing is essentially that there is a hand, and that this hand is easily mistaken for various other things. Now the question is, if such a hand exists, whose hand is it? If the US is somehow owned, the country itself is owned by another country or another entity, then how? The argument that people who believe this use is that the US, as we understand it, is actually a corporation, and that the president of the US is therefore a president of a corporation rather than a country. And obviously that is not a popular or a widely accepted opinion, but we want to know your perspective on this. Is this just a bunch of bunk? Are people seeing what would be a really cool story? I mean, let's admit it would be a cool story. Or is there a little something more to it? Is there a secretive cabal in Europe that says, today this will happen in the United States? Or is it something in between? And honestly, even that would be profoundly disturbing. So check out our friends at Alltime. Their videos should be here.
For centuries, Great Britain ruled across the land and seas as the largest empire in the world. Invading all but 22 countries, the British Empire was one of the most successful yet brutal regimes in history.
If you want to hear much more information about this, arguments for it, arguments against it, check out our audio podcast coming out this week. You can find us on Twitter, you can find us on Facebook. We're Conspiracy Stuff on both of those, and we do a live show once a week every Friday. You can find that via our Twitter. As always, our best ideas come from you, so let us know what you would like to hear more about. Tell us on Facebook, tell us on Twitter, or if you don't like all that stuff, and we get it, you can email us directly. We are conspiracy@howstuffworks.com. And Matt, hold on just a second.
Yeah?
Yeah, I want to just get past this. So anyone who comments about green screen on this wasn't watching the whole video.